So we'll start with chapter 5 of BCK. Now the very first chapter that I'm approaching in the BCK is chapter 5. Now chapter 1 and 2 is going to speak about only business, 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 business. Already you people have studied the same elements in your business studies in first PUC and second PUC or 11th and 12th. So I don't want to bore you people once again by taking the same elements. So I'm coming out with a few interesting facts about my government organizations, how it is going to support the business. Now my chapter 5 will speak about organization facilitating business. Sir, with respect to examination point of view, even this chapter holds good for the major prominent of the marks in your BCK. So this entire chapter will be important in terms of an examination point of view. Now, sir, as the name itself says, facilitating. Sir, what do you mean by facilitating? Sir, we are going to provide some help. We are going to provide some support. Those government organizations which are supporting for a business, that is what we are interested to learn in this unit. Now, sir, in this unit, we'll be mainly studying about 5 important organizations. Now, these 5 important organizations have been categorized into 2 segments. Sir, which are those 2 segments, sir? Now, even before going into the 2 segments, sir, we shall understand one minute element that is called as organization facilitating business. Now, you can also call it as OFB, organization facilitating business. Now, see here, sir, who is this business facilitator or organization facilitating business? Remember, these are the organization who will simplify your functions and operations. Who will simplify your functions and operation of conducting business. Sir, examples: my banks, insurance, transportation, warehousing. Sir, these are the various kinds of examples how they are going to help me or how they are going to support me in my business operations. Now, this is what my organization facilitating business speaks about. In short, sir, those people who is going to help me in order to conduct my business in form of functional activities or in form of operational activities. Now, these organizational facilitating business has 2 categories. Sir, category number 1, that is called as a regulatory body. Sir, category number 2, they are called as a development body. Sir, category number 1 is, category 2 is developmental bodies. Superb. Now, sir, this regulatory bodies is also called as non-funding institutions. Sir, developmental body is called as funding institutions. Did you people understood? Now, sir, under this non-funding institutions, we have got 4 organizations. Sir, the very first organization is RBI, which was established in 1935. Sir, the second one is SEBI, established in 1988. So the third one is CCI, that is Competition Commission of India, established in 2003. Sir, the fourth one is IRDAI, Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India, established in 1999. Sir, these 4 organizations comes under the category of a regulatory body, or we also call them as non-funding institutions. Now, sir, under my funding institution, that is a developmental body, there were 4 organizations which we used to discuss earlier in BCK. But now, for your examination, sir, only and only NABARD is applicable. Only and only. Sir, NABARD stands for National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. Sir, only and only NABARD is applicable under a developmental body. Sir, if at all you have any old materials or if you are referring from any else particular syllabus, sir, you can also find IFCI, SIDBI and EXIM. Kindly don't study these 3 organizations which is not applicable for your examination. So under funding institutions, we only and only have NABARD. Sir, that is, it was established in 1982. Sir, totally in this particular chapter, we need to study about RBI. Sir, we need to study about SEBI. Sir, we need to study about CCI. We need to study about IRDAI. We need to study about NABARD. So these are the 5 institutions about which we need to study in this particular unit. If at all we study about these 5 institutions, this entire unit 5 is going to be completed. Now, already we have studied RBI, sir. Already you people have some idea regarding SEBI, sir. And you people also known few chota mota things about NABARD, sir. Acceptable? Sir, in your 11th and 12th, you people would have studied about RBI. You people would have studied about SEBI. You people would have studied about NABARD. So complete new elements are CCI and IRDAI. So initially, sir, now, sir, before straight away approaching with RBI, SEBI or IRDAI or CCI, let me give some brief introduction about my Indian banking system, or might be what exactly was a banking procedures which we have operated in India. Now, for your better understanding, I will divide the Indian ages into 4 categories. How many categories? Sir, first one is before independence. That is, sir, before 1947. That is category 1. Now, sir, category 2 is after independence. Sir, after 1947 until 1980. Sir, category number 3 from 1981 till 1991. Sir, category number 4 from 1991 till present day 2020. So, these are the 4 categories what I am splitting my Indian ages into. Whatever topics we are going to discuss today, sir, few of the topics have an interlink with your chapter 4 of your BCK, and also few interlinks are there with your chapter 3, especially with the SBI. Now, sir, if at all we speak about this banking systems in India, sir, let me go back to your pre-independence, that is during a British time. Sir, for the better provincial purpose, Britishers have divided India into 3 provinces. How many provinces? 3 provinces. Sir, the provinces of Madras, provinces of Bombay, provinces of Calcutta. So these were the 3 major provinces they have divided into. They used to operate with these 3 major provinces. Now, sir, in the year 1806, in the year, sir, we have established something called as Presidency Bank. We have established something called as, sir, first Presidency Bank was established in Calcutta. Sir, after which even in other 2 provinces we have established a Presidency Bank. Now today how we have a RBI as a central bank of a nation, during those days, during 1806 and later on, sir, each provinces has got a Presidency Bank. Sir, every provinces have got their own kind of a specialized bank or a central bank. We used to call them as Presidency Bank. We used to call them as. Later on, sir, over a period of time, all the 3 presidency banks got merged together and we call them as Imperial Bank of India. We call them as Imperial Bank of India. Now, sir, let me repeat it once again. For the better provincial purposes or for better administrative purposes, Britishers have divided India into 3 categories. Sir, provinces of Madras, provinces of Bombay, provinces of Calcutta. Now, sir, all the 3 provinces has got a presidency bank that was considered as an apex bank. The very first presidency bank was established in Calcutta during 1806. During. Superb. Now, sir, after which all the 3 presidency bank got merged together and we call them as Imperial Bank of India. Now, this Imperial Bank of India was the main apex bank of my nation before independence in India. Before. Superb. Now, in the year 1935, in the year, the 1935, RBI was established as a private bank. RBI was established as a under RBI Act 1934. Under RBI Act. Sir, when RBI was established, it was a private bank that was established in 1935 under an RBI Act of 1934. Now, sir, after independence in India, when did India got its independence? 1947. So you people are brilliant, man. Superb. Now, even after independence, for the next 2 years, that is until 1949, until, sir, Imperial Bank of India was considered as the apex bank of my nation. Sir, in the year 1949, RBI was nationalized. RBI was. Sir, what do you mean by nationalization, or what do you mean by nationalized? Taking the control from private enterprises to the government. Sir, complete control from private, it is moving to the government. This is called as nationalization. Sir, what is privatization? Complete other way around. From government, now the control is moving towards private. So that is called as a privatization. What is nationalization? From private, if the control moves to the government, that is called as nationalization. So in the year 1949, RBI was nationalized. RBI was, and in the same year, RBI was given a central bank status. Sir, RBI was given central bank status. Until 1949, who had the central bank status in India? Imperial Bank of India, sir, which was established under a British rule. Sir, that is by merging all the three presidency bank, they renamed it as Imperial Bank. Now, this Imperial Bank was existing in India. Sir, it was considered as a central bank of my nation until 1949. Arthar, even after India got its independence, for the next 2 years, was the central bank of a nation was called as Imperial Bank, which was established by the Britishers. We never had our own bank, which was considered as a central bank. Only in the 1949, RBI was nationalized. Sir, even RBI was established as a private bank in 1935. Sir, in the year 1949, we have nationalized RBI, and then we have transferred the central bank status from Imperial Bank to RBI. Sir, now only after 1949, RBI was considered as a central bank of India. Now, let me go even more little back towards my history. Sir, even let me go even behind my presidency banks. Sir, during those days, I'm speaking in terms of 1720s, 1730s. Sir, the Oudh Bank of India was the very first bank which was established in India. Sir, the Oudh, O-U-T-H, Oudh Bank of India. Later on, we have established something called as Bank of Hindostan. It is not Hindustan, the Bank of Hindostan. The Bank of Hindostan was the very first bank which was established by Indians. Established by before independence. This is not there in your syllabus, only for your knowledge purpose I am sharing. Sir, the very first bank which came in India was the Oudh Bank of India. Later on, sir, the Bank of Hindostan. Sir, during the time of independence in India, there were almost like 500 plus private banks, almost more than. Sir, what is the biggest problem in it? If there is more than 500 plus private banks, what is the problem to you? There is a hell a lot of problem with these private banks. Assuming Shashikiran sir is an industrialist. Now I'm operating some manufacturing sector. Sir, I'm doing some business. What I will do, I need a money to produce a commodity. I open up a bank. Two people will come and deposit money into that bank account. If business is running properly, even bank is also running properly. If something happens to my business, over a night I used to shut down the bank and I used to run away. There was no security for the funds, and moreover, I'm speaking in terms of 1947 now. Sir, even today, let me say, even if I speak about the census part of 2011, or might be the data which is available in 2015, almost 47% of my population is dependent on agriculture. Sir, this is in 2011 and after. Think about 1947, sir, more than 75+% of my population was dependent on agriculture. These private people never gave loans for agricultural purpose. They used to completely indulge themselves in a speculative activities. Sir, there were many problems with this private bank. They never used to follow whatever my central bank, that is RBI, used to instruct. That is after 1949, when RBI got the central bank power, whenever RBI issued some directions, these private banks were never listening to the words of RBI. And moreover, there was a huge crisis, and what happened? A general public money was not secured. Even though if you're keeping in a private bank, boss, it is not secured. And moreover, we never had a commercial banks in India. We never had a commercial banks in India. So these were the major problems of this private bank. Now what to do? Remember, in the year 1955, in the year 1955, Imperial Bank of India was nationalized. Imperial Bank of India was and renamed as SBI, and it was renamed as. Now today whatever we call it as a SBI, sir, it was earlierly called as Imperial Bank of India. Sir, even before Imperial Bank it was called as Presidency Bank. It was called as Presidency Bank. Now, sir, 1806 was the very first Presidency Bank established in Calcutta. Now, if at all we see our chapter 3 of BCK, whenever we are studying about the company overview of this SBI, incorporation year 1806. Sir, that 1806 refers to the Presidency Bank which was established in Calcutta, very first Presidency Bank. Sir, Calcutta, Bombay and Madras. These were the three important places where our entire India was divided and was called as a provinces. All the three provinces had a Presidency Bank. All the three Presidency Bank got merged together in 1821. Sir, from 1821, Imperial Bank of India got its power. From Imperial Bank of India until 1947, they had a power. RBI was established in 1935 as a private bank, and RBI got nationalized in 1949. After which, from Imperial Bank, we have transferred the powers to RBI. So, it is as simple as, sir, even after independence for the next 2 years, we were following the Imperial Bank as a central bank. Okay, sir, chod do. But in the year 1955, this Imperial Bank got nationalized and then it was renamed as SBI. Even today, SBI claims that they are the oldest commercial bank in India and they have got the largest number of deposit holders, or might be the people who are actively operating with the banking system with SBI. No doubt, sir, until 1955, that is after independence, for the next 7 to 8 years, India never had a commercial bank, that is a government bank. We had only and only private bank. The biggest problem with private banks, there was no security for the funds with the general public used to deposit. And what used to happen, sir, they were completely into speculative activity. Sir, they were not trustworthy. These were the major problems. Sir, think about, even today in India, there are only 20 plus commercial banks. During those time, 500 plus private banks. That was a major disadvantage of the banking system. Sir, this was the chota-sa introduction about the banking system of my nation. Sir, how we have divided into the ages. Now, I was only speaking about the pre-independence, sir. The pre-independence, the banking system. Now, sir, what about the second category, sir? Later on, what happened, sir? The year 1969, 14 banks was nationalized. That is the commercial bank who had a deposits of more than, I guess, 50 crore or what. It used to be there in your CPT. In your CPT, you had the complete information about this. But in foundation, you don't have a much information. Sir, there was a limit. Suppose if there is a deposits of so and above, the RBI took over the control and they have nationalized 14 commercial banks. Then later on, in the year 1980, the second round of nationalization took place. Sir, again 6 more banks was nationalized in India. Sir, 1955, Imperial Bank of India was nationalized. 1969, 14 more banks was nationalized. Sir, 1980, 6 more banks was nationalized. Almost 21 plus banks have been nationalized in India, a commercial banks. And remember, RBI is not a commercial bank. RBI is a central bank of my nation. Sometimes you might expect a question, how many banks have been nationalized in India? You will think, sir, 1949 RBI, sir, 1951, 55 Imperial Bank of India, sir, 1969 14 banks, and again 1980 some more 6 banks. Sir, 6 plus 14, 20, sir, 21, 22. 22 total nationalization. Boss, they're asking for the commercial bank. RBI is not a commercial bank. So don't get confused there. Sir, 21 banks was nationalized and one of the bank got merged together. And moreover, my SBI had almost like 9 subsidiaries or 7 subsidiaries under it. But now we only have 5 subsidiaries or 4 subsidiaries we have got. Sir, even SBM, State Bank of Mysore, got merged with SBI. Like this, we had many others. State Bank of Hyderabad, State Bank of Bikaner and Jaipur, State Bank of Travancore, like this. There were 7 subsidiaries, and later on few subsidiaries got merged together, and now we have left out with only 4 subsidiaries. Sir, this was like a chota sa introduction which you had in detail in your CACPT, but you don't have that in detail in your BCK. Only that small elements, bits and pieces are there. But now, whenever you are referring to the BCK chapter 3, sir, whenever you are seeing that company overview of SBI, you can find that, sir, when did SBI was incorporated? 1806. But the bank traces its ancestry to the British India. Sir, presidency banks, all the 3 presidency banks got merged together. It was renamed as Imperial Bank. Again, Imperial Bank was nationalized in 1955 and it is renamed as. So, this is the long history of my SBI. But actually speaking, the SBI, the name SBI came only from 1955, and from the 1955 in India, we got a commercial bank. SBI was the very first commercial bank in India after independence. After independence, sir, until 1955 in India, we never had a government banks, or we never had a commercial banks wherein people's funds were not secured. Think, sir, we speak about reaching moon, reaching Mars, almost like even after independence for 7 years, we people never had a commercial bank in India. This was the chota-sa introduction about my banking system in a nation. Now, let me come back to our topic, that is RBI. Now, when did RBI was established? Under Dash Act. RBI Act of 1934. Remember, in India, RBI is the only organization which has got its statutory powers from 2 acts. Which has got its statutory powers from? Sir, in the year 1949, when RBI was nationalized, we have also come out with something called as Banking Regulation Act. So this Banking Regulation Act was established in 1949, and even my RBI has got a powers under 1949's Banking Regulation Act to control all the commercial banks in India. That is, whichever commercial banks have been established in India, or whichever private banks, cooperative banks, whichever banking systems have been established in India, all those banks comes under the control of RBI. Sir, now RBI has got its powers from how many acts? 2 acts. Sir, which was the first act? The first act is 1934. That is. And second one is Banking Regulation Act of 1949. Kindly do remember this. Many people will forget this point. It is the only institution in India which has been regulated by, or which has got a statutory powers by 2 important acts. RBI Act of 1934 and Banking Regulation Act of 1949. Superb. Now, sir, when did RBI was established? 1935. Sir, when did RBI got nationalized, sir? 1949. Sir, after independence, after next 2 years, sir, we nationalized RBI. And remember, when RBI was established in 1935, it was a private bank. It was not a government bank, it was a private bank. Superb. Now, let me speak little introductory part about your chapter 4. We have a link here. Now, sir, after India got its independence, now we started adopting mixed economic policies. Acceptable? Sir, these mixed economic policies, whatever India adopted, that was not to that extent it was applicable, or might be it was not favoring to India. Almost by end of 1980, now I divided the Indian ages into 4 categories. Now let me speak about the chota little thing about the second category, and also small little introduction about the third category. We will speak in detail in chapter 4 of BCK. Now, sir, from 1947 to 1980, whatever mixed economy concept India adopted, that was not appropriate to India, and India started facing more and more of problem. Sir, what is that problem? India had almost like 47% of population was poor at the time of independence. And moreover, sir, adding more fuel for a fire, my nation's per capita income has never increased, or I can say I had only a increase of 1% for 3 decades. 1% for, sir, 1 decade is 10 years, 3 decades is 30 years. Almost for the 30 years, my per capita income has only increased by 1%. Sir, India started facing lot and lot of problems. Almost by end of 1980, it was like peak. Now, sir, from 1981 to 1991, I can say India was facing a hell a lot of problems. It was like a disaster. By end of 1990, India was at the verge of declaring bankruptcy. At the verge of declaring bankruptcy or declaring as a bankrupt. What do you mean by bankrupt? Sir, this nation is no more liable to repay back the loans what it has taken. So kindly, no country, don't give loans to India. If you give loan, you will get only Purnama, Tumbo. So kindly don't give the loan. To that extent, we have borrowed funds from all the international organizations. Sir, in the year 1991, there was one biggest event took place in India, and you people have studied about it already. LPG, liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Sir, in the year 1991, we call them as new economic reforms. We call it as, sir, already we have created few reforms that was not at all applicable to India. And now in the year 1991, we are creating some more new reforms. We are adding to it. We are changing the reforms. So we call 1991 as new economic reforms. Now, sir, this was the chota introduction which I have given, but we will study in detail about this in chapter 4. It is quite interesting. After independence, what happened? Why we failed? Why we could not able to progress, and why for 3 decades it was only 1% per capita income has been raised. What are the biggest problems of India? Now, but my main agenda is, sir, after India getting its independence, we had this biggest notion called as, if at all my country has to progress, if at all my country has to develop, it has to concentrate more and more towards industry. It has to concentrate more and more towards industry. Now let me give little hints about this chapter 4 also. Again, the same information comes in chapter 4. Sir, at the time of independence in India, hardly 2% of workforce was dependent on industry. Hardly 2% of workforce was dependent on, and almost like 73% of my workforce was dependent on agriculture. Sir, I'm using a word called as workforce, not a population. I will explain once I come to this chapter 4. Sir, my dependency on industry was very less. If at all I speak about industry in India, only cotton, textiles and jute industries were prominent in India. Now there is a slogan in the entire world: either you industrialize or perish. Suppose if at all your nation has to grow, you should concentrate on the secondary sector and tertiary sector. Now during those times, sir, there was a two big nations which was following this industry, and moreover, sir, they had one of the country was following capitalistic, one of the nation was following socialistic. Sir, capitalistic was followed by USA, socialistic was followed by USSR. Now presently we call it as a Russia. But India adopted mixed economic policy. Now my USA has been developed because of industrialization. Japan, technology. Sir, like this, many of the nations whichever has been developed in this world, majority of them have developed because of industrialization. So now India wanted to concentrate more and more on industrializations, more and more on industry. So was in the year 1948, in the year 1948, we have established something called as industrial policy. Statement. Sir, in the year 1948 we established. Sir, in the year 1951 we established Industrial Development and Regulation Act. Sir, in the year 1956 we established Industrial Policy Resolution. Sir, in the year 1991 we created new economic reforms. I can say these were the 4 important dates, which is important with respect to industries. Sir, 1948, that is just after independence in India, we wanted to concentrate more and more on industry. So we established industrial policy. Sir, in 1951, we have established industrial development, and in 1956, we have established industrial policy. Now, sir, my major concentration will be towards industry. No doubt, sir, majority of my population is dependent on agriculture. I can't even neglect agriculture. No doubt, we will support for agriculture. But more than agriculture, where is my main concentration? Industry. So, India started more and more importance, or to give more and more importance on more of industrialization rather than developing in the field of agriculture. Now, because of which we have established many acts, many statements, many prominent programs with respect to industry. Sir, one of the 4 major prominent things which we need to remember is Industrial Policy Statement, which was passed in 1948. Industrial Development and Regulation Act was passed in 1951. And sir, in 1956, Industrial Policy. And there was also one more important event in 1956. What was that? Companies Act. Companies Act of 1956 was established. And later on, sir, in the year 1991, we have come out with a new economic reforms. I will just pause this information at this particular point. Again, we will continue the same informations in chapter 4. But they have given the information, this Industrial Policy Statement, Industrial Development and Regulation Act, Industrial Policy Resolutions in your chapter 5. That is under your developmental organizations. So, sir, this was like a chota introduction about my history of an India. How exactly India was doing, or how exactly India started adopting the policies after independence, that we will study in chapter 4. But in chapter 5, I've given the chotas or introduction regarding the banking system of India and how exactly we wanted to progress. So, was in the year 1950, in the year, sir, in India, we established something called as Planning Commission. We established something called as, sir, in short, it is also called as 5-year plans. We used to create an economic plans for the next 5 years. We used to keep the target. We need to achieve that. We started that in 1950 in order to progress, in order to develop the nation. Sir, later on, what all hangama happened, why we could not able to achieve it, everything comes in chapter 4. Now, we shall start with our RBI. Now, only chotas you learned. Sir, when did RBI was established? 1935 under Dash Act. RBI Act of 1934. RBI was a private bank when it was established. When did RBI got its powers? 1949, that is by nationalizing it. Sir, RBI was nationalized in 1949 and the central bank status was transferred from Imperial Bank to RBI. So, from 1949, RBI got its powers, and in the year 1949, we have established something called as Banking Regulation Act. Sir, RBI has got its powers or statutory powers under 2 acts. One is RBI Act of 1934, second one is Banking Regulation Act of 1939. 1949. Sir, in this unit, you need to remember more dates like this. Let me just come back once again and let me just help you out to remember. Sir, it starts from 1934. It starts from, sir, what is this 1934? RBI Act of 1934. And RBI was established in. And in 1949, RBI got. And in the same year, 1949, Banking Regulation Act was passed. Sir, this was the additional information which I gave. Sir, this 1955 Imperial Bank of India got nationalized and it was renamed as. This is related with chapter 3. Next, sir. And I also said, sir, RBI is the only authority which has got a powers from 2 acts. That is RBI Act of 1934 and Banking Regulation Act of 1949, and this was with relation to your chapter 4. There was an interlink. Sir, after independence, India wanted to progress more and more in terms of a industrial sector, that is a secondary sector. So after independence, we have established something called as Industrial Policy Statement in 1948, Industrial Development and Regulation Act in, Industrial Policy Statement in, and New Economic Reforms in 1991. Now, sir, when did RBI was established, sir? 1935. Now, see, that was the information. I will come back to this point. First, I will start with an RBI. Now, sir, RBI was established in under RBI Act of 1934. Sir, and RBI was nationalized in 49 and central bank status was transferred. Head office of RBI is located at Mumbai. Head office is located at. RBI has got 4 branch offices and 4 regional offices. Sir, where are those 4 branch offices? Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai. Simple pa. Whatever this Britishers have divided India into 3 provinces. Sir, Bombay is called as Mumbai. Madras is now called as Chennai. Kolkata is now called as Calcutta is now called as Kolkata. And sir, the capital of my nation, Union Territory, Delhi. Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai. Sir, in these 4 places, we have got the branch office. And sir, there are 4 regional offices. Sir, these 4 regional offices are located at Hyderabad, Bangalore, Lucknow, and sir, Hyderabad and Bangalore, we can remember it so easily, sir. Lucknow and Kanpur, sir. We might get confused. Acceptable. Okay, which is the smallest state of South India? Goa is not in South India. Kerala. What is the RTO registration of Kerala? K for Kanpur, L for shortcut to remember. Kerala state, sir, Chotasa state in South India. Compare it to 5 states, what we have, the smallest state is Kerala. Sir, RTO registration, vehicle registration starts from KL. Kanpur and Lucknow. Simple, sir. RBI head office is located at Mumbai, sir. Sir, 4 branch office, Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai. Sir, head office is also there in Mumbai. One of the branches also there in Mumbai. Don't get confused. And sir, 4 regional office, Bangalore, Hyderabad, KL, Kanpur and. Remember, RBI is managed with 20 board of directors. RBI is managed with 20 board of directors. Sir, what is this? RBI is constituting 20 main people who is managing every single authority. Now, sir, these bifurcations about this 20 people is not there in your syllabus now, but it was there earlier. But still, for your better understanding, I have given the bifurcation. Sir, 20 people, how are they appointed? Sir, one governor is appointed from. Who is the present governor of RBI? Shaktikant Das, SK Das. He is the present governor of RBI. Sir, one single governor is appointed from central government. Sir, 4 members are appointed from every single branch. That is one from Delhi, one from Mumbai, one from Kolkata, one from Chennai. Another 4 more people are appointed from regional office. That is one from Hyderabad, one from Bangalore, one from Lucknow, and one from Kanpur. And one member is appointed from Ministry of Finance. Sir, usually this will be the finance minister of a nation. Who is the present finance minister of our India? Nirmala Sitharaman. Sir, 1 plus 4 plus 4 plus 1, 10. And another 10 experts in the field of finance is appointed by central government. Sir, in short, totally 11 people are appointed by central government. 1 governor and 10 experts. Sir, this was the composition. Now this composition is not there in your syllabus. Just only remember how many board of directors are managing RBI. 20 board of directors. Now, sir, this was the introductory part of your RBI. Now let us go in detail. What are the roles of this RBI? Remember, wherever money is involved, RBI is involved. Sir, how exactly? Sir, from A to Z. Be it financial institution, be it non-banking financial institution, either it can involve directly or either it can involve indirectly. Sir, how indirectly? Sir, even the SEBI, sir, even this Exim Bank, Export and Import Bank, sir, this NABARD, sir, they all come under RBI. And moreover, sir, remember, my RBI has got one important role in my nation. That is, maintaining economic and financial stability. Maintaining economic and, or we can also say it as a monetary stability. Now sir, whenever I was speaking about this business cycle of your economics, I spoke regarding this inflation and deflation. Do you remember? Sir, during inflation, what government has to do? My government expenditures are going to decrease and tax rates are going to increase. Sir, who will determine this tax rates, sir? Government. Sir, exactly. Who is going to determine? My central government of a nation. In related to the banking system, especially with interest rates, with who will decide? RBI is going to decide. Not only just interest rates, sir. My RBI is going to provide advices to the governments and even for the commercial banks. Not only just for the government, even for the, in terms of all finance matters, in terms of all finance matters. And remember, sir, RBI is going to represent the government of India in all international platforms. Suppose, sir, there is some international meetings regarding to this WHO members, sir, regarding this IMF members. Sir, RBI is going to represent government of India in all international platforms. And not only that, sir, my RBI has also got one more important authority. It has to prioritize for whom I should give more loans, for whom I should give less loans. That is, it will decide the priority sectors. It will decide. Sir, as we have already discussed, sir, my main intention of RBI is to control inflationary trends. Sir, we need to bring a stabilization function in my nation. Sir, I cannot just leave the prices to increase day by day or to prices decrease day by day. I should make sure that there is a stability in my economy. So, boss, these are the four important things which we need to remember in mind. Sir, my RBI is a apex monetary institution. RBI is a apex monetary institution with concern to money and all monetary policy. In order to, with money and all monetary policy to strengthen and develop country's economic and financial structure. Sir, main important, sir, my RBI authority is to control my country's economic and financial structure with respect to money and all monetary policy. And in order to maintain economic and monetary stability. Economic and monetary. When will you bring stability? Sir, during the time of inflation and during the time of deflation. Sir, out of these two, inflation and deflation, the most important element is inflation. That is keeping inflationary trends under control. And not only just inflationary trends under control, sir, even my RBI is going to fix a priority sectors. Why? In order to provide them a cheap rate of interest for the loans. Cheap rate of interest for the. So these are the roles of my RBI. Sir, four important points to be remembered. Sir, it is a complete apex monetary institution in my India with respect to money and all monetary policies. Sir, in my nation, it is going to look out for the developmental aspect with the economy and the financial structure. Second point, in order to bring stability in my nation with respect to economic and all monetary policies. Third point, sir, it acts as an advisor for a government and all commercial banks in India, and also it is going to represent in all international monetary platform on behalf of government of India. And the fourth point is, sir, RBI has an authority to prioritize the priority sectors to provide them with a cheap rate of interest. Sir, mainly these 4 points, if you can remember out of the roles of RBI, that is more than enough. Did you people understood? So, boss, how many authorities are there? Mainly 4. There are still more. Mainly 4 authorities are there. Sir, it is the apex monetary institution with respect to money and all monetary policies in order to make my nation develop with respect to economic and financial structure. That is point number 1. Point number 2, to bring economic and monetary stability in my country. Point number 3, it advises governments and commercial bank in terms of finance matters. And my RBI also represents government of India in all international monetary platforms. Sir, RBI has got an authority to prioritize a priority sector and to provide them with a cheap rate of for all the loans. This is what the main important 4 authorities of RBI, or I can also call it as the roles of RBI. Did you people understood? Superb, sir. Now let me go further, sir. Now let me come to the main important point, that is functions of RBI. Now this will take almost like more number of time to discuss, and this is the most important, this is the main crux of the entire RBI. Sir, the very first point is bank of issue or a banker of issue. Remember, RBI has got an authority to issue currency notes in my nation. To issue. Then comes a question, sir, if it is only currency notes, then who issues currency coins, sir? Government of India, that is Ministry of Finance. Ministry of, sir, my RBI has got an authority only and only to issue currency notes. It has not got an authority to issue, but be it printing of note or minting of coin, both are taken care by RBI. Both are taken care by RBI, but it has an authority to only and only issue. Now, sir, no other banks in India has an authority to print and issue currency notes except, sir, whatever denominations we have a currency note starting from 5 rupees, starting from 10 rupee, 20 rupee, 50 rupee, 100 rupee, 200 rupee, 500 rupee, and sir, every notes have been printed and issued by. Now comes a question, sir, we have seen this 1 rupee note and 2 rupee note also, sir. Who will issue this 1 and 2 rupee note? Who said it is still a legal tender? It is still a legal tender. Even my father has that 1 and 2 rupee notes in bundle, he has it. And even recently in the year 2017, or I don't know when was the exact year, they have reprinted that 1 and 2 rupee notes again. Especially this 1 rupee note. They have reprinted it. Now, does anyone know who has an authority to issue 1 and 2 rupee notes? Okay, all the banks of India, SBI, Kotak Mahindra Bank, HDFC Bank, they come together. Oh, boss. Listen, Government of India has an authority, that is Ministry of Finance. Ministry of. Now, in the previous class, one of the class, I gave you the hint. Sir, you can notice one statement on a particular currency note. I promise to pay a bearer a sum of rupees so and so. Have you observed it? And below that, there is a signature of a RBI governor. Now, whatever notes you people are using, do one thing, take out a note, any denomination of note, take out in your hand. How many languages in which they will be written? 15. In 15 languages it will be there. 15. They will be given in 15 languages, especially the denomination 10 rupiah or 10 rupai, 10 rupa, whatever, it in 15 languages they will be given there. And can you see that statement over there? I promise to pay a bearer a sum of rupees 10 or sum of rupees 100, and RBI governor signature is there. Why is that statement given there? Does anyone know about it? It is only a promissory note. Then what is the real currency of your nation? Then if it is a promissory note, you call it as a rupee, right? Sir, Indian currency is a rupee. That is what you people are using it as a exchange, medium of exchange. If it is a promissory note, then what is the real currency of your nation then? Gold is a real currency. Equal worth of gold is with RBI. Next, let me see. Okay, others, listen. Many of them have not understood the question. Let me repeat it. Can you see that statement? I promise to pay a bearer a sum of rupees so and so on every single note issued by an RBI. And there is also a signature of a RBI governor. Have you ever wondered, or have you ever thought, why is that statement given on the note and why is that signature is over there? Why is that statement given? Superb. No one cannot oppose or no one cannot deny it. It is considered as a promissory note, no doubt. Remember, it is called as a fiat money. It is called as a, what do you mean by fiat money? Sir, this page, whatever paper you are holding, the note, that paper doesn't has a value. By considering it as a legal tender, by considering it as a, we use it as a currency. Now, all of a sudden again Narendra Modi can come overnight and he will say, Bhaiyo, Behno, from today 100 rupee note, 2000 rupee note is no more. A legal tender. No more. Money is nothing but a legal tender. Money is nothing but a, by virtue of a law, we are adopting it as a legal tender. Now, tomorrow he can come out and he will say it is no more a legal tender. It is only just a sheet of a paper. Acceptable. So, sir, it is a promissory note. Sir, wherein if at all a person does not believes in this currency, you can go and take a equivalent worth of a gold or a foreign currency in which you believe in. Sir, whenever we print a currency note, whenever we print a, now sir, we are following something called as minimum reserve system, MRS, minimum reserve system. But earlier, whatever, let me say, if at all you want to print 1 crore rupees of money, you should be keeping 1 crore rupees equivalent value of either a gold or either any foreign currency, or let me say any special drawing right. These special drawing rights are issued by IMF. It is called as an international currency. Sir, any combination of these three things will be kept as a backup by the Reserve Bank of a nation, that is RBI. Sir, only by keeping a backup we can print a currency notes. Sir, that is only a fiat money what you people are holding in your hand. That is just a mere promissory note. Sir, the real currency of a nation is a legal tender. Sir, the legal tender of India is called as a rupee. The legal tender of USA is called as a dollar. Even if you take that US dollar, that bill, if you hold it in your hand, it is only a fiat money. It is only a, it is used for the medium of exchange. It is only used for a, sir, rupee is considered as a legal tender. Remember, whenever someone asks you what do you mean by money, never say that, sir, whatever note we are holding, there is money. Sir, money is a legal tender. Money is a, whatever currency notes you people are holding, that is only a fiat money, which doesn't have an intrinsic value, which doesn't have a, that is, that note doesn't have any value. It is only a piece of paper. By considering it as a legal tender, we are using it for a medium of exchange. That is why that statement is given. If you give this sheet of paper to anyone, that is equivalent value of a legal tender of rupees so and so. I promise to pay a bearer a sum of rupees 100, a sum of rupees 2000, a sum of rupees 500. That is, this note is only a promissory note. It is only a, did you people understood? No doubt it has a law over there. No doubt it is also implemented by economics there. That is why law and economics, sometimes it collides. Many concepts are there like this, wherein you will be studying with respect to law, even you will be studying with respect to economics. Did you people understood? Yes, boss. Until and unless government declares it as a, it is no more a legal tender. Even a minute before of declaration, it is still a legal tender. Yes, they have to take a decision. Those decision making, policy making will be taken care at a top level. You need not to worry about it. Unless and until my government has not declared it as a legal tender, it is still a. That's it. Because tomorrow he might come out, he might say it again. Possibilities are there. So that is why I said it is only a fiat money. It is only a fiat money. Remember this technical word, sir. Whatever currency notes which we are using today, it is only a fiat money. It doesn't have any intrinsic value. It is only just a sheet of paper, considering it as a promissory note. That is a legal tender of a nation which is accepted within the political boundaries of a country. This is what you will study in inter. This is what the inter topics are regarding money. So I have just given you some intro for the inter part here itself, so that you people can understand it properly. Now, did you people understood? Minimum reserve system. See, this minimum reserve system is like, now you need not to keep the same equivalent value. Now there is a internationally accepted. Suppose if you want to print some 10 crore rupee, example, random example. If you want to keep some 10 crore rupees as a currency of your nation, at least minimum you should keep this much of reserve. See, it is very highly impossible for every single note to get a backup. We might not get to such extent of gold. Sir, even gold is like a reserve. We have limited in nature. So, if not, we cannot keep it 100%, at least some 50%, 75%, 20%, 10%. Now it is internationally recognized. At least you should keep that minimum reserve. By keeping a minimum reserve, you can print a note. You cannot print a note without keeping any reserve. At least MRS has to be followed. That is a recent trend. It was implemented after this 2004 or 2005. I'm not sure about it. Now we are following this minimum reserve system. But earlier we used to follow the complete reserve systems. Every nation. Now they are only following minimum reserve system. Now, yes, boss. That is what? By keeping your reserves, boss, it is based on the nation's policies, even your trade system, your growth values. Based on that, see, money exchange values will be there. You cannot say tomorrow you cannot come and say $1 is equals to 1 rupee. You can't say it like that. Trade happens, and moreover, whenever I'm printing the currency note, the standard of living, the growth rate of an economy, everything matters a lot. It is not only one important element which will drive to print a note. Many other elements are there. Even if money supply becomes more, like David Mugabe, what he did, Zimbabwe, it leads to an inflation. And general price level in the economy starts increasing. Even if you print more currency notes and issue it, it is a problem. Whatever the RBI is going to print a note, that is called as a high-powered money. That is called as a high-powered money. Sir, whenever it comes into circulation, sir, that is a flow concept. Whenever RBI prints a money, that is called as a stock concept. That is called as a... There is no rule that whatever RBI has printed, it has to issue. Based on the requirement in an economy, they will circulate it in an economy. It is not like, okay, sir, I've printed 100 crore, let me also distribute the entire 100 crore. No, boss, it is not happening there. It is not like that. You have many other policies, many other rules and regulations to be followed there. So now, let us come back to this 1 and 2 rupee note. Who issues this 1 and 2 rupee note? Government of India, that is Ministry of Finance. Whenever you see the 1 and 2 rupee note, you can find the signature of Secretary of Finance. Secretary of, that is Finance Secretary. You will not find a RBI Governor signature there. Finance Secretary's signature will be there in 1 and 2 rupee note. Sir, only these 1 and 2 rupee notes can be it can be issued by Government of India, that is Ministry of Finance. Does anyone know what is the story behind this 1 and 2 rupee note? Yeah. I'm coming to the same point. See, initially in the year 1999, this 1 and 2 rupee note was printed. Even it is like a myth. Or bits and pieces. Many people say many reasons, and even the government has come out with one of a reason over that time. I got to know this information from my guru, who taught me economics. He said me, sir, in the year 1999, there was a Kargil war between India and Pakistan. Sir, during those time, instead of minting a coin, they have printed the notes. The same iron and steel, whatever was used to mint a coin, they have used it for manufacturing of bullets, guns, and all those trucks and all for the war purpose. So only in that one single year, in order to meet the military requirements, instead of minting a coin, we have printed a note. And still they have many other more sources say there are different logics behind it. I think this stands little valid. Even many economists, even many articles say the same thing. Only during the Kargil war, instead of minting a coin, we have printed a notes. So that is how this 1 and 2 rupee note came into the picture. Remember, RBI has the only bank which has an authority to print and issue currency. Who has an authority to issue currency coins? Superb. Now, that was the very first function of our RBI, that is bank of. Now, second one, bankers to bank and lender of. Listen to this example carefully. In this one single example, I will explain 5 concepts now. Sir, assuming Adarsh and Shashikiran sir, we both are business people. Now, Mr. Adarsh has supplied me some raw material to Shashikiran sir, furniture manufacturing. That is a raw material called as a wood. Now, Adarsh has supplied me a wood. Now, assuming I wanted to pay Adarsh some 10 lakh rupee. How much I wanted to pay? 10 lakh rupee. Now, I said for an Adarsh, today is 14th of September, I don't have a money. Give me some 2 months of time. That is, sir, October, November. That is on November 14th. I will pay you 10 lakh rupee. On Children's Day, I will pay you 10 lakh rupee. He agreed, okay sir, super, but I am a PJ sir student. I know that you might cheat me. Kindly sign a bill of exchange. Okay. Now Shashi Kiran sir has signed a bill of exchange, or let me say a promissory note stating that Shashi Kiran is liable to pay 10 lakh rupees on so and so date on a maturity date. Okay, fine. Chalo. Now, sir, let me say Shiva Shankari. She is a customer for a Canara Bank. She is a customer for a Canara Bank. Now, Shiva Shankari has deposited some 15 lakh rupees of FD some 4 years back or 5 years back. Okay, sir. Unlike Shiva Shankari, there are other more customers who have deposited money. They do this in and out transaction withdrawing and even depositing into the bank. Now, sir, all of a sudden, Adarsh is in need of money on 1st of October. On 1st of October. Now, Shashi Kiran sir will pay only on November 14. But Adarsh is in need of money on. Now, Adarsh will take that promissory note to a banker. Assuming even Adarsh has got an account with Canara Bank. Now Adarsh will take this promissory note. See Canara Bank manager. For me, Shashi Kiran will pay on 14th of November. But now I am in need of a money. I have a 10 lakh rupees worth of a bill. Why don't you discount this bill and give me a money today itself? Okay. Canara Bank manager is happy. Okay. He discounted a bill and assuming a random figure. 9 lakh rupees was given to Adarsh. 9 lakh rupees was given to. But what is the value of a bill? What did Adarsh got? Sir, that 1 lakh rupee is kept as a MRS. Marginal reserves for safeties. Marginal reserves for. What if on 14th of November Shashi Kiran don't pay? Possibilities are there. Risk element is involved. So, now Canara Bank didn't pay 10 lakh rupee. Canara Bank only paid. That is a safety margin what Canara Bank is holding. Superb. On 1st of October, Adarsh came. Adarsh discounted a bill. Now, Shiva Shankari is also in need of a money. She came on 3rd of October. She came on. See, Canara Bank manager, 5 years ago, I have kept 15 lakh rupee for my education purpose. Now I am going to abroad. I need that money, pa. Please give that money. Now Canara Bank manager is like, just 2 days back I have discounted the bill and whatever liquidity I had in a bank, I have given it to Adarsh. Now bank manager is like, ma'am, you please come after 2 hours. I will arrange the money. Okay. Now Shiva Shankari leaves. Now Canara Bank manager having a shortage of money. He will ask other branches, Deepa, I have one of the customer, I have to pay 15 lakh rupee, I have shortage of money, please bachao my mana maryada, please give some loan to me. Canara Bank will ask to other commercial banks. Everyone will say, we don't have. Now, as a last approach, Canara Bank will ask whom? RBI. Now, RBI will be having the records of every commercial bank. RBI will be having an accounts of all the governments and all the commercial banks with RBI. Now, even if 1 rupee is getting transferred from one bank to another bank, RBI will know that very well. How much money is available with this commercial bank? What are the transactions? Each and everything is known to RBI. Now, RBI is like, how much do you need? 15 lakh rupee. Canara Bank manager is asking how much? Okay, just 2 days back, you have discounted one bill to Adarsh. Get me that bill. Okay, now RBI is rediscounting that bill of 10 lakh rupee and giving 8 lakh rupees to Canara Bank. 8 lakh rupees to Canara Bank. Hey, I asked for 15 lakh rupee. You are giving only 8 lakh rupee. You will give you another 7 lakh rupee. RBI is like, have patience, wait. He rediscounted a bill worth of rupees 10 lakh and he gave 8 lakh rupees to Canara Bank manager. Over and above, he is giving 7 lakh rupees of loan to commercial bank. 7 lakh rupees of loan to. And my RBI is a very smart kid. He will never give anything for free of cost. Now he is like 8% interest. How much? 8% of interest. Okay, chalo. Now Canara Bank manager was in need of money. He got rediscounted that particular bill and he got 8 lakh rupee. Over and above that 8 lakh, 7 lakh rupees of loan he got from RBI at an interest rate of superb after some 1 month, or let me say some 1.5 months. Now RBI is in need of money. Remember, RBI has an authority to give a loans to a government. RBI has authority to give loans to a, and even for a commercial bank. Now usually when RBI gives loan to this government or a commercial bank, which has to be repaid within 90 days, which has to be repaid within. Now assuming, now Karnataka state government will say, see pa, I have got one metro project which I am doing pa, because of this corona I have lost my money over there for the treatments and for the maintenance. Construction work has to get completed. I have ordered one metro train from Germany pa, I want some money, please give me some loan, I will repay back in 90 days. Now RBI has a shortage. Now RBI is in need of money. Now RBI is looking who has got a more funds. Or Canara Bank manager has got a more funds, who helped out 1.5 months back. Now he will call that Canara Bank manager. See pa, last time you wanted money, I have helped you. Now this time I want money. Now you should help me. Now Canara Bank manager also agreed, but now Canara Bank manager is also smart. Idiot fellow RBI. Last time did you give it? Did you give for free of cost? Now will I give it for free of cost? Can say illa. Now I will charge 7% interest. I will charge 7% interest. Boss, when RBI gave loan to commercial bank, 8%. Now when commercial bank is giving loan to RBI, 7%. Now acceptable. Okay, give me the loan because I need money. Okay, RBI took loan from commercial bank. Okay, now it is giving to one of the state government. Okay, chalo sir, this is the end of a story. Now the story has got 4 important points. When commercial bank was in need of a money, sir, RBI gave a loan of 7 lakh rupee over and above rediscounting the bill. Do you remember? Sir, that is called as repo rate. That is called as, whenever RBI lends loan to a commercial bank, that is called as a lending rate of an RBI. That is called as a lending rate of an RBI is how much percentage? 8%. That is called as a repo rate. Now, when RBI took loan from a commercial bank, RBI took loan from a, that is borrowing rate of an RBI. That is called as reverse repo rate. That is called as a, sir, that was 7%. That was, sir, repo rate, lending rate of RBI 8%. Reverse repo rate, borrowing rate of RBI 7%. Sir, repo rate and reverse repo rate. Did you people understood? Superb. Now let me go further. Sir, for the very first time, when others took this promissory note and went to this commercial bank, that is a Canara Bank, this Canara Bank manager, he kept 1 lakh rupees with himself. He only gave 9 lakh rupee. Acceptable? Sir, whenever this commercial bank is not giving the loan to the fullest extent, when they are holding some portion as a safety, as a, those margin of safety is also determined by RBI. Margin of safety is also determined by, suppose now Shashikaran sir wanted a loan to establish a factory. Now I have got one property, or let me say land space worth of rupees 1 crore. Now the land value is 1 crore. Now I will take this land documents and I will ask for 1 crore rupees of loan. Banker will never give me the entire 1 crore rupees of loan. He has something called as safety margin to be kept. What if in future Japan people come here and put bomb like Hiroshima Nagasaki happened? Risk element is there. I will not give the loan to the fullest extent of the whatever mortgage you are keeping. I will only give lesser than that because I need to have some safety. So that margin of safety is determined by whom? Determined by RBI. According to the RBI instruction, commercial bank has to follow. For which loan, how much safety should be taken? Suppose if it is a property loan, based on mortgaging a property, you are giving a loan to someone, or on any other kind of a document, how much margin of safety has to be taken? That is MOS, margin of safety. That is determined by whom? RBI. Superb. Next sir, next topic. Now sir, RBI is discounting the bill. When RBI is discounting the bill, sir, first time discounting was done from Adarsh and Canara Bank manager. Acceptable. Sir, that rediscounting was done from commercial bank to RBI. That is one of the topic I need to explain. Still, I will put a question mark there. Pause. As of now, you people have learnt only about margin of safety. You people learnt about. Sir, who will determine this margin of safety? Sir, we learnt about repo rate and reverse repo rate. Sir, what is repo rate, sir? Lending rate of a RBI is called as a repo rate, and it is how many percentage? 8%. And borrowing rate of RBI is called as reverse repo rate. What is reverse repo rate? Sir, that is 7%. Acceptable. Sir, we studied about margin of safety, we studied about repo rate, we studied about reverse repo rate. And I also explained one more concept. Now, my RBI has an authority to give loans to the commercial bank and governments for the period of how many days? 90 days. That is one more concept. Now, sir, as a last approach, whenever any commercial bank is in need of a money, whom do they go and approach? And RBI is called as a banker's bank. RBI is called as a, remember, sir, RBI will be having an account of every government, be it state government, be it union territory, be it a central government. RBI has an account of all the governments and all the banks. Sir, be it a private bank, be it a commercial bank, be it any kind of a banking system in India, every bank's accounts are maintained by RBI. Every government's accounts are maintained by. So, RBI is called as a banker's bank. And also, in case of any last moment emergencies for commercial bank, who is the lender? RBI. RBI is the lender of last resort. So, the second point, see here. Sir, banker's bank and lender of. And sir, the third point, banker to government. Sir, even not only for the commercial bank, he is also banker to him. And I said to you, sir, RBI has an authority to issue a short-term loans and advances up to how many days? And sir, we also saw one more important point. Sir, RBI is going to represent government of India in case of all international platforms. And remember, suppose if government of India has taken any loans from international organization, be it IMF, be it World Bank, be it England Bank, Asian Developmental Bank, sir, on behalf of government of India, RBI is going to make the payments. RBI is going to make the, here, sir, RBI makes payments on behalf of government of to all national and international institutions. And sir, RBI acts as an advisor on all financial matters and economic issues to the central and state government. It also provides a short-term advances which is repayable within 90 days. Now, there is one more hidden point here. Sir, why RBI has to advance or why RBI has to act as an advisor to a government or a commercial bank? Now, whatever money we have it in our nation, how we need to make use out of it? Sir, especially during the time of inflation and deflation, if RBI doesn't advise us government of India, it will be keep on spending. Already inflation money supply is more. If government still spends more and more, it is even more injection of money into an economy. Acceptable. So, my RBI is going to instruct, especially with the money matter, when you need to spend more, when you need to spend less, for what purpose you need to invest, for what purpose you should not invest. Not only just for the government, it also advises the same to the commercial bank. What you should do with the money, for whom you should give loan, for whom you should not give loan, how much interest rate to be charged, how much safety to be taken. Everything, every advice is given by whom? RBI. Now, sir, there is one hidden agenda here. We call it as open market operations. We call it as, sir, what is this open market operation? Sometimes when this government borrows loan from RBI, when government borrows loan from RBI, RBI will say, do one thing, you don't repay me this money. Instead, you give the government treasury bills or any government bonds to me. Now, it is as simple as RBI is purchasing bonds from government. Acceptable. Sir, what will RBI do with this bonds, sir? What will RBI do with this treasury bills of government? Simple, boss. whenever there is a inflation in an economy, whenever there is a RBI is going to sell these bonds. RBI is going to, and they will collect the money from the general public. Why? Because there is more money supply in an economy. I need to cut down that money supply, especially to control inflationary trends. RBI is going to sell this government security. Now I got this government securities from whom? Central government. That is, sir, all the government security, treasury bills of government, bonds of central government. I gave loan to government. In behalf of that loan, I got treasury bills, I got this government bonds. Now, whenever there is a inflation in an economy, I will sell this treasury bills. I will give an offer to the general public. See, pa, if you deposit 5 lakh rupees for 5 years, if you deposit 5 lakh rupees for, I will give you 10% of interest. Appa, just only an example. No one will give 10% of interest. That is very hyper interest. Now, sounds interesting, sir. 5 lakh rupee, 5-year deposit. Artharth, sir, 10% on 5 lakh rupee, what is 10%? 50,000. Sir, 50,000 rupees gets added every single year on 5 lakh rupee. How many years is the lock-in period? 5 years. Sir, if I deposit 5 lakh rupee, after 5 years, I will get 50 into 5, 2.5 lakh rupee interest plus 5 lakh rupee investment. Total how much? 7.5 lakh rupees. Sir, when will I give this offer? During the time of inflation. What do you mean by inflation? There is excess money supply in the economy, because of which the general price level keeps on. So in order to control that money supply, now RBI is going to sell this treasury bills or government bonds in a economy. Sir, people starts purchasing that bond, I will collect back the money. I wanted to reduce money supply. That was my agenda. Sir, okay, sir. During inflation, you sold that bonds and you collected money. What will you do during deflation? Reverse path. I will give back this bonds, or sorry, I will repurchase the bonds. Now I have sold the bonds during the time of inflation. During the time of deflation, I will repurchase that bonds from the general public and I will give back their money. There was less money supply during deflation. So in order to inject more money, I will repurchase the government security. Sir, there was more money supply in case of an inflation. In order to cut down that excess money supply, I will sell government security. During the time of deflation, I will purchase it back from the open market. So this is called as open market operation. RBI has an authority to buy and sell government securities. To buy and sell. See there, sir. Treasury bills, sir, RBI can trade treasury bills. Wait, here. RBI has an authority to trade treasury bills on behalf of. Sir, this trading of treasury bills is called as open market operations. Open market. During the time of inflation, we sell security. During the time of deflation, we buy securities from the open market. Did you people understood? Sir, this was the first 3 points, that is functions of RBI. First point was bank of issue. Second point is banker to bank and lender of last resort. Sir, the third point is banker to. Sir, now the fourth point, custodian of foreign exchange reserves. I said you, in order to print any currency notes, sir, 3 important things has to be kept as a backup: gold, foreign currencies and special drawing rights. Second one, sir, foreign currencies. Whatever foreign currencies are there in my nation and whatever money exchange happens with a money exchanger, finally all those foreign currency, who will hold it? RBI. He is the custodian. What do you mean by custodian? He holds it. He is having an in charge. Sir, the custodian of foreign exchange reserves. That is one of the functions of an RBI. And here, external value of rupee is not affected because of fluctuations in trade. Sir, this exchange rate and fluctuations of trade, in order to control that, we have something called as FEMA, Foreign Exchange Management Act. Sir, even sometimes RBI will purchase and sell let me say foreign currencies in order to control the fluctuations, and especially with the terms of balance of payment, export and import activity. Sir, we need foreign currencies to pay. Whenever we import goods, we need to pay in terms of foreign currencies. Acceptable? Sir, whenever we export, let me say we are exporting any good, we receive foreign currency. Whenever we import goods, we need to pay foreign currencies. Acceptable? For all that international activities, in order to maintain this balance of payment and balance of trade, I need a foreign currencies. And not only that, sometimes in order to maintain the fluctuations of this exchange rates, even my government will also, sometimes, that is on behalf of government, RBI is going to buy and sell foreign securities, buy and sell. Sir, whenever RBI purchases and sells foreign currency, how can we bring stabilization? That is one point you need to understand. There is actually an inter concept. Let me explain you a little. Assuming, sir, in India, if you invest, in India, if you will get a profit of 1 lakh rupee with terms to Indian rupee. If the same investment is made in USA, with respect to Indian rupees, you will get 1.5 lakh rupees as a return. Where will you invest? Sir, in India, if I invest, returns is only 1 lakh. In USA, 1 point. Now, sir, will you invest in India or will you invest in USA? USA. Sir, why? Because returns is more. Now, what you will do, you will demand more and more for a foreign currency. Now, you are leaving in India, you will give rupee and you will demand for foreign currency. So that you will go there, you will take this money or you will invest. Or from here only, you will invest that. Acceptable? You need to invest in terms of a dollar. You cannot invest in terms of. Now, when the demand for a foreign currency increases, when the demand for a foreign currency, sir, my foreign currency gets appreciated and domestic currency gets depreciated. Assuming, sir, if $1 is equals to 70 rupees, sir. Now, when people are demanding more and more of a foreign currency, my domestic currency gets depreciated. What do you mean by gets depreciated? Now, I need to give more money to purchase this dollar. Now, earlier $1 was 70 rupees, sir. Now, $1 is 80 rupees. Sir, this is called as depreciation. Earlier, if I want to purchase $1, I used to only give how much? 70 rupee. But now if I want to purchase $1, how much should I give? This is called as depreciation. Whenever the demand for a foreign currency increases and domestic currency decreases, sir, it creates more and more value for foreign currency and lesser value for domestic currency. In order to fluctuate that, RBI comes into the picture. RBI buys and sells government securities over there. Now I need to improve the domestic currencies status. So all those maintaining the stability with foreign exchange values and even with FEMA, sir, balance of payment, my RBI has got the in charge with foreign currency. That is what why we say custodian of foreign exchange. Great. Sir, first point was bank of issue. Next point was banker to bank and lender of. So the third point is banker to. Sir, fourth point is custodian of foreign. Sir, fifth point is clearing house. RBI acts as a. Let me give one beautiful example. Now, sir, I wanted to pay some money to Vindhya. Now, Shashikiran sir has an account in Kotak Mahindra Bank. Vindhya has an account in Canara Bank. Shashikiran sir has given a check of Kotak Mahindra Bank to Vindhya. Now, Vindhya doesn't have an account of Kotak Mahindra, but she has an account in Canara Bank. Now, she will take this Kotak Mahindra check to Canara Bank. She will say, see, I want to receive this money from Kotak Mahindra to my account. On behalf of Vindhya, now, my commercial bank, that is Canara Bank, will collect money from Kotak Mahindra Bank and it will deposit to Vindhya's account. Acceptable? Sir, all this interbanking transaction, from one bank the funds has to be moved to some other bank, from A bank to B bank, B bank to C bank. All this fund clearance will be taken care by whom? That is called as clearing house. Next comes the most important point and our main discussion of the day, that is controller of credit. That is my sixth function of RBI. You people would have studied the same thing, qualitative functions and quantitative functions of RBI. Acceptable? Okay, now let me ask you one super duper basic question. What do you mean by bank rate? What do you mean by bank rate? Sir, the amount of interest that a bank is going to charge if at all they give a loan, or whatever interest we get while keeping in a bank account, that is called as bank rate. Acceptable? Pakka? Any other answers? Repo rate is called as a bank rate. No. What do you mean by bank rate? You remember I said one statement in the last class. First I will say the answer, then I will ask a question. That is what I am doing even now. I have already said you people an answer. I am indirectly asking this question. Wrong. Wrong. Superb. Someone said the answer. Hey, repeat it again. Who is that? Gauri Priya. Yes, she is smart now. When I gave you this example, one big story I said, time being, I will put this concept as a question mark. I will not explain. I said in that example, in that story, I am going to explain 4 concepts. Out of that, only 3 I explained. Repo rate, reverse repo rate and margin of safety. Sir, when RBI rediscounted a commercial bill, RBI rediscounted a commercial bill. Sir, that is a Canara Bank manager was in need of a money. Now the first discounting was done between Adarsh and Canara Bank manager. Now when Shiva Shankari had a deposit, when Shiva Shankari wanted a loan, when Canara Bank had a shortage of money, sir, that bill of exchange was rediscounted by RBI. Do you remember? The rediscounting rate is called as a bank rate. Sir, remember what do you mean by bank rate? It is a rate at which RBI rediscounts an eligible commercial bill. It is a rate at which RBI rediscounts commercial bill. Sir, that is called as a bank rate. So, in my example, that story, 4 concepts was there. Bank rate, that is nothing but a rediscounting rate. Acceptable. Repo rate, reverse repo rate and margin of safety. Sir, these were the 4 concepts which I explained in that example. Did you people understood?